Yep. You're right. We about that.
I like that.
Yeah. I should cut it down to like 15 seconds, but who cares? Another edition of Rock and Recovery coming right up. Special guest, Sela, from Looking Through the Glass. And welcome to Rock and Recovery. As y'all heard, it's a special episode with Sela, a friend of mine from Looking In Through the Glass, her own podcast. She struggled with addiction and mental health herself and still does. So, Sela, why don't you just tell everybody about you? Because I know about you. So why don't you tell everybody else about you?
Hi, everybody. I'm the co-creator of Looking Through the Glass. I started it with my daughter, my eldest daughter. I am 500 and what's today's date? 575 days clean from methamphetamine.
By like a couple months.
Yeah. Our dates are really, really similar.
Yeah.
I consider you my twinsy because you're like a brother to me. But I am clean from methamphetamines. I have also struggled with mental health due to a severe head injury, but I think I struggled with it prior to that. I did have a lot of suicide ideology growing up. So I've struggled with mental health my entire life, even though I did not recognize it at the time. I still struggle. I think it's a lifelong type thing, but I also had a severe head injury that kind of turned into my own hell, But now I'm clean from everything. No more medications, no more nothing. Other than, I'm California. But so I'll start out my story. My mom was 14 when she married my dad. My dad was 16. They had me. My mom was 15. My dad was 17. So very, very young, very, very young. And there was traumas, childhood. A lot of when you have somebody get married that young, typically there's childhood traumas involved, So there was a lot of childhood traumas. So there's a lot of generational traumas that have, been inflicted between me and then I passed down to my daughter as well. So that's why we kind of started Looking Through the Glass, was try to help people see the rawness and, we just wanted it also. We're doing it for ourselves too, it kind of holds us accountable too. But anyhow, so my mom had me, they were married. My dad was abusive. Am I like limited on what I can say? No, right?
You can say everything but the R word. We'll try to stay away from that or any type of derogatory remark. We're freaking YouTube friendly. We're not TikTok friendly anymore. Come on.
I hear you, man. Well, I'm not quite sure because I do recording so that it can all be like, I know you don't care. Okay. So, my dad was very abusive. He, physically and mentally. My mom had gained a lot of weight when she was pregnant with me, and that triggered him into his little making fun of her, stuff like that. Then he put his hands on her multiple times, and finally she said, "I'm done." And I was about 2 years old, so she was 17 at this time, and she moved out, got her own place, and that's when my stepdad came in. He was a few years older than my mom, and my stepbrother came in. He was 4 years old. And so we grew up where my brother was my brother. That's why I always say it takes more than DNA to make a family. And little did I know how much that actually resonates, but, so, fast forward, my mom's married, happy little family. It really wasn't. My stepfather was an alcoholic. Very, very, very abusive towards me. Because I was very overweight as a young child. I struggled with it. He would make fun of my weight, call me Miss Piggy, laugh about it, stuff like that. And then there was gaslighting that happened where, or scapegoating, type things that happened. And my biological father at this point in time is not having too much to do with me. Also, I forgot to mention, when my mom was separated from my father before my stepdad came in to the picture, I was bounced around quite a bit. My mom was, of course, 17 years old, trying to figure out life, going through divorce. And, in Las Vegas in the 70s, early 80s, it was really, really tough. It's still really, really tough in Las Vegas. And so, I mean, we grew up in the ghetto. Like, I grew up down on 28th Street, and like, so there was a lot of gang issues going on too. But I was bouncing around from my grandmother's house to uh my aunt Sela's house, the one I'm named after, which is my father's sister. Now, my grandmother was my mother's mother. um I've just kind of got confirmation today. There was some sexual abuse that happened that I don't have recollection of. But from doing podcasting until I was literally in the middle of a podcast recording when all these things started flooding my mind, and the realization of, oh, wait a minute, there I had a lot of signals of being abused and not recalling it. And I just got confirmation today that that absolutely would have happened, because it was to my aunt. It happened to my mother. I remember my mom like having a big argument with my grandmother, because she came in and I was sitting on that man's lap. The man's passed away by now. So his name was Jack White. Um, and he was my mom's abuser. My grandmother never believed her. And then I just confirmed with another family member this morning that absolutely he was, like, she remembered when that happened. And yeah, the different things that he would do. And I was remembering these things during a recording. It was quite surreal when it happened. But so there was, automatically already there at the age of 2 until I was probably about 7, maybe 8. I was around this person quite often. Like, again, I have no memories other than sitting on his lap and him always asking for kisses. Like, those are the only memories I have of him. But I do remember being in his backyard riding his donkey. And I remember he always had the ponies at the swap meet. And that's where he reeled us in, was because we did riding and trick riding and stuff like that with the horses. And I found out that, what he would do is he would take the girls into the trailer that he had, and he would be so there's probably many, many victims, of this person. But so fast forward, about 10 years old, there was a lot of abuse. When I would come home, the house would be destroyed. My mom was constantly battling an alcoholic husband that also liked to dabble into a lot of drugs too. My mom always went back because of my brother. She didn't want to leave my brother with it. And she didn't have any rights to him. So the divorce, that meant that, you no longer have any contact. You don't have that anymore. And I know a lot of people face that situation and can understand that situation. So my mom stuck around until I was about 10. And I had just broken my ankle. And I had a cast because I broke my growth plate and it split up into my shin. And I had a cast on all the way up my leg. And I remember my stepdad telling me that I was too fat to carry me up the stairs.
The fuck? That's just wrong.
Yeah. I remember him telling me, and so I would have to, like, I was too afraid to do it with the crutches because I was too unstable on the crutches. So I would sit down and just scoot all the way up. Which, I mean, I needed to learn how to do it on my own. I did need to have to learn how to do it on my own, but that wasn't the right way to tell me.
No.
But he would do a lot of things like that to me. He would pull me off to the side and say little rude things to me a lot. He would have hangovers. So like if I scraped the cereal bowl in the morning, it would piss him off and I would get in trouble and smacked for that. I don't know how many times I got smacked for before school because of that, for the cereal bowl thing. Like, I mean, he would come out and it would just be like shaking and just kind of like, and then so the divorce happened, or the separation happened, and I lost my brother. The biggest fears, and I think, sorry if I cry, I didn't expect this. That impacted me more than anything in my life. Losing my brother, because even though we fought, he was my best friend. And I was always, a loner in school and stuff. But when that divorce happened, losing my brother, I was in 5th grade at the time. And I was always by myself. And I was always a straight A student. I loved school. Like, that was I loved learning. And then when that happened, didn't want anything to do with anything anymore. And quite obvious, it's still, but I remember my mom just getting on my case because my grades were bad and I was being disrespectful, and my mom going, I know you miss Roy and your brother. And I just popped off and looked at her and I said, I don't miss him at all. I miss my brother. Yeah. I'm happy he's gone, but I miss my brother. So we moved into my aunt's house. And, in that divorce and in that time, my mom losing her son, because he was her son. He still is her son in her mind. He will always be her son. I don't care how many years goes by, that's my mom. And losing her son and having to take that step before me, and herself, her sanity, that really wrecked her. That really, really wrecked her. And then she's living in with her sister. My mom's always been a very independent woman. She was raised to be very independent. Don't rely on nobody. You can handle yourself. And here she is sleeping on her sister's couch, But not to mention that is when we moved in there, I started watching my cousin getting severely abused, my younger cousin. And having to watch that at the age of 10 and a half years old, and trying to comprehend why he wasn't allowed out of the bedroom. Like, he was locked into his room, like, for hours, like from 7:00 at night until sometimes noon. Wow. Even later, 3:00, and we weren't allowed to let him out or we would get in trouble. And he would be crying and screaming on the other side of that door. I'm hungry. I'm thirsty. I have to go to the bathroom, and he would be forced to he had no other choice but to use the restroom in his room, and he would get in trouble for it. And I mean, I'm not talking little trouble. Right. And I'm witnessing this, and I'm like, I can't even understand the amount, you know what I mean? And then I'm having to not do or say anything about that because I don't even know how to, and I'm being told not to. Right. And, I think that kind of impacted me big time. There was I really, really hated myself a lot for that. Yeah. But when you're 10 years old and you're living in a house full of abuse and there's just drug usage and there's, all this stuff around there, you're in severe survival mode and you don't know how to calculate that as a kid. I mean, I was in survival mode from day one, pretty much, but I didn't really know how to navigate that. And so I'm sitting here with my losing my brother, not being able to talk to him saying he didn't want anything to do with us because of the things that my stepdad was telling him because he was so angry at my mom, and dealing with that, and then dealing with the watching my cousin be abused day in and day out. And I remember one time my other cousin and I let him out, and we swore, we made a pact not tell anybody, like no matter what, we're not going to tell anybody. And we never did. This is the first time I'm telling, but he had gotten into some syrup while he got out, while he was out, because he was so freaking hungry, like the poor kid was skin and bones already. And my aunt found out because he had left syrup dripping down the pantry.
Oof.
And we didn't catch it. And we told him not to tell no matter what. And I don't think he has any memories of these things. I think that his brain completely erased these memories in his mind. But my cousin and I, we got our asses whipped and whipped and whipped and whipped and whipped. And we refused. We're like, I don't know how it happened. I don't know. We never broke. Like out of all the things that my cousin and I argue a lot, but out of all the things, I remember that so strong because we were both like, no matter how many times, But I remember my mom looking at her going, I know it was you because Sela would have broke by now and told the truth.
Oof.
And watching that, I was like, like it just killed me, but we made a pact, and that's what we were going to stick by, because the repercussions of letting him out was so much worse than the getting our asses beat all day long, trying to beat the truth out of us. But and then hearing that, and I just felt so bad for my cousin on that because my mom was right too. I would have broke by then normally, but not on this one. I don't know what kept me going, but that one, I think it was just, especially I wanted to break, go, no, it was me.
Right.
Just to
Just to
take that sting away from my cousin.
Yeah.
And my mom didn't even know what she was doing. She had no clue that I mean, don't get me wrong, she was in a situation where she kind of felt that because she was in survival mode as well, But so then fast forward a little bit, not too long, a few months, my mom gets her own place, gets her own car, and she's getting on her feet. We move out. And we have our own place, a little 2-bedroom place with a little tiny, in decent neighborhood in Las Vegas. My mom's doing good. She's like, she should be proud of herself,
Right.
And she was. She absolutely was. I was doing a little bit better. I'm not necessarily in the different school. I was still completely alone and I was still going through my stuff, but it was looking a little bit better. And then Mike came into the picture. I don't know if you're okay with me giving the full names, but this person.
Yeah, go for it. Yeah,
this person, I'm telling you, is a very dangerous person.
It's part of your story.
Mike Kennedy Hold Jr. is his name. Lived up in the Boston area. He came in, swooped my mom off of her feet. That man did so much damage. Not just to me, but to my mom, he fucking destroyed her. Like he just fucking destroyed her in so many ways. Like I don't even know all the stories. I only know just smidge of what I've overheard
Right.
and the things that my mom like was able to tell, the few things my mom was able to tell, which wasn't very much, but I mean she's getting stronger and braver. That woman's got amazing story, she really does. But so he came in and I didn't like him. I could feel it, being 10 years old and being a person that's very sensitive to energy. And
Right.
I mean, I was very sensitive in energy, as in there was a lot of supernatural things that happened around me, I was that sensitive to energy. And I just felt the evil off of him. Like you could smell it. You know what I mean? Like
Oh
you,
yeah.
they say you can smell demons. You can not only smell it, but it just like and I'm. Don't get me wrong. I know you believe that we are in a supernatural war as well, type thing.
Mhm.
But this man, I'm not kidding you, had every sign of demon. He would take showers multiple times a day to keep the stench off of him.
Mm.
Um, and there's so much I don't know about him, but what I do know is enough to say I've been terrified of this person my entire life. Um, so he comes in. My mom seems so happy though, after watching her go through the pain. She's missing my brother so much, but he brought a little bit of light in. I seen that. She asked me, hey, because we had a close relationship, a close enough relationship, even through the damage of what was going on at my aunt's house, we had a close enough relationship to where she respected me, as a kid. I lived in the house too. And she asked me if he could move in. And I remember, sorry, I'm shaking.
Okay.
I remember the sinking feeling in my gut when I said yes. Little did I know then, if anybody understands anything about demonology, you allow them, you give them permission to enter your life. And I didn't know that's exactly what I was doing. I didn't know what demons were, I didn't
Right.
understand, but I felt it so strong. A lot of the people in my family did. But he was just such this wonderful guy, business owner, moved here from Boston and comes from an upper family, this and that, Um,
Look good on
all
the outside, like they all do.
Yeah, all the good looking, fit, all of the wonderful bell ringers. And my mom, coming from the not knowledge of narcissistic abuse, and we're talking, he was beyond a malignant narcissist. And if anybody understands narcissistic abuse, malignant narcissists are the most dangerous narcissist. After that goes into a sociopath, and that is what he is. That is what he is, and I don't put that lightly. So he comes in, he moves in, and life just first, okay. I'm noticing different little things here and there, noticing different fights happening, noticing him putting his hands on my mother. My stepdad was abusive, but he didn't put his hands on my mother, not that I've seen. And if he did, he regretted it,
Yeah.
My mom literally picked him up and body slammed him. My tiny little mom, you know. So like, she's a tough woman. Um, and I mean, with Mike, it was nothing more than just a smack, but it was still hands on her.
Right.
And, but the abuse was already taking place. The manipulation was already taking place. It was already happening. It happens from the very get go. The trauma bonding, the love bombing, and all the other parts that go into it. And my mom was with him for 4 years. We were with him for 4 years.
Mm.
And it was just being around his energy was traumatizing. You know what I mean? It was just so
Yeah.
heavy and just so thick, and it just swallowed you. Like, you're just like, ugh, you know? We moved a lot around a lot, and there were so many fights. There were so many things, and he was business owner. He owned a painting company, cleaning and painting company, so he got good business from people with money and people in places, especially in Las Vegas. And
Mm.
I remember we were staying at an FBI agent's cabin in Utah, and a friend of mine came with me. And at this point in time, we have a guy living with us that's working for Mike. He was an 18-year-old guy. I'm like 14 at this point in time, and we all go up to the cabin. I have my friend come with me, and my mom busted Mike looking in the bathroom window while my friend was taking a shower.
Mm.
And freaked out.
Mm.
And I don't know if my mom even knows that I know that, but I know that from Steve. Um, so from that point on, Mike got a little bit more open, shall I say, about his real preferences.
Mm-hmm.
And my mom is kind of picking up on these things, but if anybody knows about narcissistic abuse, they put you in a financial ringer and they make you financially dependent on them one way or another. And when you have a
Right.
business with this person, and and that's why a lot of narcissists own their own businesses, so that their spouses or other half can work for them. I see that tactic a lot. Um, but he starts talking about saying, little comments about me, well, Sela's really pretty.
Mm.
And my mom's like, yeah, she is. Like, okay, not knowing, because she's never thinking like this.
Yeah. Thinking
At
it's
this
innocent.
point in
Yeah.
time, everything has been completely focused on her. All of the
Right.
abuse, everything has been focused on her. So she, in her mind, is not quite comprehending what's going on, because she's just like not thinking like that. So we end up, during my 8th grade summer, beginning of 9th grade, we end up moving in the middle of summer. My mom needed to get proof of addresses, so I was a couple weeks late for starting school. I get to school, and I'm ditching school all the time. I'm hyper sexually active through all of this. I'm dabbling with drugs. As a matter of fact, with Mike is when I started doing drugs. I started doing them when I was 12. Um, Let me not forget. Sorry, guys, I'm really nervous and I'm bouncing around a lot, so I hope this all makes sense. Let me not forget my father. Um, he's in and out of my life, but my stepmom's like my best friend. Like, she was like my best friend, but Let me try to catch myself here. Sorry.
Take your time. It's okay. There's definitely no rush.
Yeah, I know. I'm just bouncing around a lot and I'm trying to get it all together. I've been praying really hard about what to get out there, what to focus on. But when you're in it, you just kind of get caught up.
Yeah. Because it's all part of the same story. It's just different,
Yeah, exactly.
trails.
It's
tracks.
hard.
Yeah.
It's hard to put it all out there.
Our memories start coming back and we remember bits and pieces of things. And then when we can't explain it, it drives us nuts. So we dive down those squirrel holes or rabbit holes, or we go out on our squirrel moments while telling our story because it's bringing up memories again. So let it flow. It's okay.
Things. Okay. I appreciate you, Jay.
Yeah, no problem.
So I'm hanging. My stepmom is my refuge from Mike. My dad, on the other hand, was another alcoholic. And I literally grew up from far back as I can remember with him feeding me alcohol. It goes back to at least the age of 2. My mom told me a story about he got me so drunk I had such a bad hangover and she was so mad at him. Well, now he doesn't have that kind of supervision over him when it came to me. And I think my dad was trying to turn me into his party buddy. I'm not quite sure. But I remember being excited to go over there and go to and this is all through when my mom's married to my stepdad, my first stepdad, before the age of 10. Going in and like being excited to go over there and get to go play with the horses because that's what my stepmom always had, and have the different animals, but also on the way go stop at the grocery store and pick up my favorite alcohol, whatever flavor I want.
Right.
And so I would spend a lot of the time, and I remember my stepmom getting mad at my dad a lot for stuff like that, But then when Mike came in the scene, I started looking towards things that were stronger at that point because alcohol was already a part of my life, And it's really, really amazing that I didn't become an alcoholic. I don't know how I didn't. I really don't, because by all means I should have been. And I want to say that I probably faced that a little bit younger, like when I was 15. But I never considered myself an alcoholic, but I drank all the time. So maybe I just was, and I just didn't know it.
It's possible. Yeah.
So I remember one time I'm over at my dad's house on the weekend. I'm hanging out with my older cousin, because I was hanging out with the older people, and my stepmom. And they start talking about wanting to get some high-speed chicken feed. Can I say the word on here?
High-speed chicken feed, methamphetamine.
Yeah. Okay. And well, of course, me being super hyper sexually active, I was hanging out with older guys because I was giving it up, This one I never did, though. This is the funny part. But it was funny. I actually broke up with him because I found out he used, but then I was right.
Oh, the things that we do as addicts. Yeah, let's be real.
I know.
No common sense. We don't. It doesn't.
Like everybody
says
weed is the gateway drug. It so wasn't for me. It so
it really is the gateway drug, and people might not. It's trauma.
It's trauma. It's
trauma. I don't call chronic trauma, just trauma in general. It doesn't have to be a gateway, but that is the gateway to the side effect of addiction.
Exactly. That's what I agree with you. I agree that addiction is a side effect of trauma, 100%. But so I'm over there one weekend, we went horseback riding, because we would go horseback riding and drink and this and that. Not too much at this point. They would drink, but I would be like, part of the group. I'd get to drink a little bit here and there. My stepmom didn't partake in that as much, like my dad did. And my dad is very abusive towards my stepmom this entire time too. Every time I go over there, my dad would come home drunk, and my stepmom would tell me, "Don't you say a word to him. Even if he says something to you, don't talk back to him. Don't say a word," because she was so afraid that he would blow up on me. And my dad never touched me, never spanked me, nothing. But he definitely used his own methods of cutting me down. You know, he would make fun of my weight, stuff like that, but not so much at this point. At this point, he really isn't that abusive jerk. At this point, he's that abusive jerk towards my stepmom, but not so much towards me. So I tell them, well, I know where to get it. And they look at me. They're like, what? I said, I know where to get it. I have an ex-boyfriend. And I said, but I'll get it, but on one condition. I want to try it. And, I want to sit here and try to say, I manipulated them into it. But, we all make stupid mistakes when we're doing
You
drugs.
manipulated yourself into it. That's all.
Yeah. People like, well, they were the adults and stuff like that. Yeah, they were adults, but they really weren't if you look at their ages,
They say an addict stops, their mindset stops when they start using, and it goes back to when they get clean.
And people need to realize that they were in their traumas too. My stepmom was in the midst of her traumas because she was being severely physically abused by my dad and emotionally. My dad is not a nice guy. He was never nice to his wives, And so I hit it and we do it. And boy, oh boy. It was so wonderful to not cry myself to sleep. It was so wonderful to not feel that heavy, just pounding. I'm 12 years old at this time. I'm, 7th grade. I've got this demon pedophile living in me. And, I told the first time he touched me, as far as I remember. But now I'm realizing maybe I remember, maybe there was more and I don't remember, I'm not kind of going, damn, how much did I protect me? Because I don't have a lot of memories. I have memories of him accusing me of stealing from him all the time. He would misplace his wallet, and the first place he would do is look at me and go, you took it. You stole from me. You evil bitch. Da, 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 da. Like, I'm 10 years old. I have never stolen a single fucking thing in my life. I am one of those kids. I'm one of those, mom's going to whip my ass. Hell no, I'm not doing that.
Plus, why would you want to subject yourself to that type of abuse from him anyway, when you know that's what's going to happen?
Exactly. That's kind of, that was just the life, day in, day out. And my mom suffered so much, and I don't care what anybody says. When you got one person going through abuse in the home, everybody feels that energy.
Everybody's under the gun. It's very tense.
It's very, very tense. You can cut it with a fucking knife.
From the animals to the adults, it don't matter.
And there was times that I could barely breathe. Through these years, I would spend days in my bed crying. Days just bawling, couldn't get out of bed. And I would be asked, why are you crying? And then when I would talk out about it, I would get yelled at. Because my mom's defense mechanisms, because of her shame that she was carrying, would kick in. And I would get yelled at. I mean, nothing, it's not her fault. I understand it now, but I didn't understand it then. And I only knew what I felt. And I mean, I remember just them being awake, and it just didn't feel right. So it would keep me up at night. I could feel that it was just so, I can't explain how heavy that energy was. Like coming off of him and the things that he was putting my mom through. And I'm losing my mom. I'm watching my mom lose herself in this abuse.
Right.
And I don't understand it because it's being hidden from me, but I can feel it and I can see it. And my mom's best friend, her sister, can see it. And I know that my aunt can see things in people too. You know what I mean? And and I just can't explain that part. I really can't. And I think,
Well, let me tell you something, Sela. It didn't happen because of you. It happened to you. Just remember that. It didn't happen because you did anything wrong. It happened to you from a terrible person. It just
he thought,
happened to you.
yeah. But anyhow, so I started doing drugs and I'm sneaking out at this point. My friends and I are, as a matter of fact, one of my friends is going to come on and tell her story. I'm going to send her your way too. She's finally comfortable in a spot where she's like, no, I need to start talking out. But her and I are hanging out and we're reaching out to these guys. Like I lose my virginity. But in the meantime, at home, I have this other guy that's, working for Mike, and him and I kind of have a thing going. You know what I mean? It was just like all of that kind of stuff. Like
So
him and
really
I had
negative, hurtful, bad behavior.
yeah, exactly. All the behavior that's goes with the trauma,
Right.
So now we'll go back to the I was a couple weeks late for enrolling into 9th grade. I was going to Bonanza High School in Las Vegas. And I just wasn't feeling it. You just, when you're in those days and you're just like, this is the worst thing in the world right now. The last place I want to be is standing here up against the wall for freaking PE, and I just didn't have any friends. Like in the 8th grade, I had a whole lot of friends for the first time ever, and then I was like right back to none. And there was just the darkness, the cloud that was over my house. It was weird. It was just so weird to describe and try to comprehend. But so a couple of my 8th grade buddies and I decide one day we're going to ditch. So
Normal 8th grade thing to do.
Yeah, well, we're in 9th grade now, but we were a couple of my 8th grade buddies. We were like, okay, we haven't hung out for a while, so we're going to ditch together and hang out for the day. So we drove around on the bus, not drove. We rode around on the bus a whole bunch. And then we went over to a friend's house that was by my house, walking distance. So I come home from school and my mom's not home. Mike had this planned out. He had dropped her off over at her sister's house where she had no way of getting home or contacting him. When they say that mother's intuition, that my mom had it 100%. She felt it. She felt something was wrong. She felt it in her soul. And But I came home and Mike meets me with my weed pipe, the crushed can with some holes in it, and some letters because I was stupid and wrote everything down to my friends back then. So my heart drops.
The crushed can, really, Sela? Why didn't you throw the can away?
I know, right?
It's so easy to get.
I don't know because the cans weren't in I don't know why I kept it because I wanted to get. I don't know. And of all places, like in between my mattress.
Really, it's really the worst possible place. The
I
most
had
obvious place. You
well,
might as
so
well just set it on your
this isn't
nightstand.
the
Let's be
first
real.
time, and this is the funniest. You know, it goes to show you how much thought I put into getting into into these things. But like, this isn't the first time Mike had raided my room. He would raid my room all the time. I had gotten busted for smoking and busted for
So you
sneaking out
knew
and
it was
losing my
coming.
virginity. Like, because I put it all, wrote and write it all out. Well, Sean, all that stupid crap.
Here, let me tell on myself some more.
You're right, exactly. And I had plenty of chances to learn my lesson, but apparently I wasn't.
Okay.
So my heart drops. I'm like, okay, I think at this point, I'm just thinking I'm in trouble, but the vibe is just off. I'm just kind of like, the vibe is off.
Right.
And then he goes, come in here. And he's talking in here, his bedroom, my mom's bedroom. And I'm just like, okay. And I go in there and he shuts the door. And like I said, he at this point has withheld his little pedo, things with me at this point. He's only like said a few things to my mom that made her go, but she didn't realize it until after. And I'm like, okay, I go in there. And he goes, well, I could tell your mom about all of this. And it was me sleeping with the guy that was living there. It was, so here I am going to get in trouble for my symptoms of being, molested, but nobody knew I was being molested. Nobody knew I was molested at that younger age,
Right.
It was, my mom literally stopped
That's what
talking
you
to my
felt you were
grandma.
worth. Yeah, that's what you felt you were worth. So yeah.
Yeah. So and it was, like I said, I just got this confirmation this morning that it absolutely very could most likely did. And going by the symptoms that happened from that, I was, and probably quite often. But anyhow, he goes, I could tell your mom, or you can do me a favor. And I was like, do you a favor? I was me. I always had attitude. So I was like, do you a favor? He goes, show me your boobs. And I went, what? And I've never told fully this story. So, but he goes, show me your boobs. And I said, no. And that's when he looked at me and he stood more in front of me, blocking me into the room, stood more like made his, and mind you, this guy is 6 foot tall and 250 pounds, worked out all the time, built, there's no way. I mean, yeah, I was an ox growing up. I grew up doing landscaping and lawn maintenance and breaking Mustangs. But, when you get, this guy's got practice at these things.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know it at that point, but this guy has practice at these things. So anyways, he looks at me, he goes, let me explain to you. I didn't come to you and let it be known what I want without already acknowledging the amount of trouble that I'm going to get with your mom. So I think you need to understand what you're facing right now. And at that point, I think my soul left my body. And so I said, okay. Not understanding, like, I mean, he was going to have his way with me either way. And he let that be known. That was him saying, I'm going to have my way with you either way.
Either you're doing it or voluntarily, or you're just,
whether you say yes or
one
no.
way or another. Yeah. You have no choice in the option.
Yeah. And I was comprehending that, but when you're in that moment, everything's happening so fast and so slow at the same time. And you're just like, I don't you don't know what to do. And I
Right.
was like, okay. So I showed him my boobs. He goes, I won't touch, just lift up, and then you can push back down. I said, okay. And little did I know that was him testing.
Mm.
And so I did that. And when I went to go put it down, he goes, no, take it off.
Mm.
And that's when I said, no, no, I'm not going to. And he grabbed me and he threw me down. And when he threw me down, it was with such force. It literally, and I hit my head on bed, on mattress, and it literally hurt, the amount of force that he had put into that. And he had grabbed me so hard that I had bruises on both arms from the way he had grabbed. And it left at that moment, it was just, it hit like almost like he was grabbing into my soul. It was just insane.
Right.
And I went, fuck. And I went into survival mode. I knew. And he told me, he goes, you're not getting out of this. He goes, I didn't go this far to risk my relationship with your mother to not get this.
For nothing.
Mm-hmm.
So he's justifying his actions, and yeah.
And I went, okay. So at that point, that's when he started to, he said, okay, I want you to, started, rubbing on me. And then it went further from there to take off your pants. And while he depantsed himself and was laid back on the bed, and he's dealing with himself while he's fondling me, and that's when he made sure to really make me feel like I wanted it, really make me shame my body, because the body has natural responses, things where the body does what the body does.
You
And
can't help it.
yeah, you can't help it. And he was, must feel good because I feel you getting wetter,
Mm.
like shit like that. And wow, I can't believe I said that without freaking out. um, and then he proceeds to just whisper in my ear during this entire time, and I could feel his fucking breath, and I could smell his stench just radiating off of him. And he starts to tell me about how the guy that I've been living with, that I've been sharing all my deep, dark secrets with, has been telling him all about every time we sleep together, what I felt like, what I did in great detail. So I'm feeling so fucking betrayed at that point, along while I'm getting molested. And he finishes his job. Thankfully, he didn't go to the next step. Thank God I was saved. He was able to get off fast enough. So then I was going to go to a football game with my friends. I made plans to go to a football game. And he took a shower and said, here, I'll give you money, blah, 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 blah. Went to the football game. He said, I got to go get your mom. And then he told me, he goes, if you're going to tell your mom on me, at least wait until we sell the house. That way she has some money to move with. We all know, every adult that's listening to this or ever going to listen to this knows that she wasn't going to get any of that fucking money. It was just to keep me quiet. And he told me, if you love your mom at all, you won't tell her.
Yeah.
So I'm I'm left home alone now, and I'm immediately, I got to kill myself. I got to kill myself. I can't let my mom know you did this to me. What is that going to do to her? You know, how, like, all this stuff is going through my mind. And I'm like, I came to the conclusion I can't do that. And then I had the knife in my hand, and I'm just tears. And I can still smell him. I can still feel his breath. And all the things that he was saying, all my secrets, he knew. All of them. Down to the details. Like, he was using the guy that worked for him that I was having a relationship, he was using him to get intel on me, to blackmail me into doing it more. That was his trick.
Yeah.
That's what he liked to do, was to blackmail people. That's what he's famous for. So I go and I tell my best friend, Amanda, that's who's going to be coming on. I tell her. And we're not even supposed to be hanging out together because we're always getting in trouble together, you know. But we go over to friend Mark's house, and this guy was like actually interested in me, but at that point he was like, holy crap, you know. But I gotta say, I gotta hand it to him if he ever hears this. He definitely helped me through so much. He did that night. So I go home. Oh no. Yes, okay. I go home from the football game. We didn't even go to the football game. I never made it there. Of course not, you know.
Right.
I go home, and I had my friend that lived like down the street a little bit, and our front door was broke to where it had to be, the deadbolt had to be locked or it wouldn't stay shut. I knocked on the door. Mike opened it, and I jumped back. And I was like, kind of like looking around, and I looked at my mom, and I was like, can I go stay the night over my friend's house? And she goes, yeah, be home by like such and such time. So I go over to my friend's house, and I didn't get very much sleep. I don't remember too much of conversation or anything. It was just, you know, we were both kind of silent throughout the night. And then the next morning, I get up, I go home. Mike's still in bed. My mom's up waiting for me because she knew. Like, she just, mother's intuition, I'm telling you. And she didn't know what was going on, but she knew something. And then she knew something about she saw my reaction. So she knew something. He threatened me or something like that. That's what she's thinking. Like, I caught him with another woman, or I caught him and he threatened me. That's where my mom's mind is. So I go home. My mom's always loved my French toast. She asks me to make her some French toast, you know, trying to keep it all calm and this and that. And then as I'm making her French toast, she's asking me these questions.
Right.
She's asking me, so what happened after school yesterday when I wasn't home? And I'm like, fuck, how do I respond? You know? And I don't remember my answers. And I don't remember all of the questions, but it was very, very, was not subtle. You know? My mom's not good at being subtle when she's being an investigator.
Right.
And so I'm like, you got a fly around you?
Cat.
Oh. I'm like, you got to fly around you? Trouble. That's what I'm always doing.
There's trouble.
In Texas, we got flies so bad out here.
I've got a big, huge four-legged fly named Trouble. It's got lots of fur.
But so she's asking all these questions, and I'm just like, I don't even know what to say to these things. I'm trying to win my way through. So I asked her, "Hey, Mom, can I go over to such and such's house?" And I think it was back to the other friend's house or something like that. I forgot something over there, or I asked to go back to Mark's house because I forgot something over there or something like that. She's like, "Okay, but be right back." And she's just kind of, she's doing that trying to peer in. And I go to my best friend Amanda's house. And we're sitting there and we're talking and we're trying to figure this out. And I'm going, I can't tell my mom. I can't. And she's going, you have to.
Still thinking it can get blamed on you. You were going to get in trouble for something you had no control over.
And what I knew it was going to destroy my mom. I knew. And Mike knew what he was doing when he did that. He knew. He knew how much I loved my mom, and he knew that I would do anything in the world to protect her and to keep her from hurting. And he used that against us in every facet he possibly could. So I go over to my best friend Amanda's just telling me, you have to tell somebody. You can't just not, Sela, you need help. You need help getting through this, and we don't know what to do. We need help. And at the time, her brother's girlfriend was living there, I think. I don't remember, either living there or she told her brother to call because she knew that she had been violated prior. So she knew that she had some kind of experience in how to handle this firsthand. So she comes over and we're sitting in Amanda's room and we're talking, and she convinces me to tell my mom. And how she convinced me was breaking down all the things that Mike was telling me and the things that I told her. And she came to the conclusion that he was absolutely going to do this again.
Yeah.
That this was just the beginning. Because he left money on my dresser. In his mind, he was paying me for it.
Yeah, I wasn't going to stop there.
And he was going to continue manipulating my mom. And she said, it would hurt your mom so much more worse if it happens again. So I told her, I said, can you come with me? Because I didn't think my mom would believe me. I thought I was going to be in trouble. And I didn't know if I could. Because to me, I had betrayed my mother. In my eyes. So she drove me, and I told her. I called my mom outside. Mike was home. Asked her to come outside and said, I need to talk to you. But I can't do it in here. And Mike knew. Mike knew what I was doing. And so I told her, I said, Mike molested me. And she just looked at me and she goes, are you telling me the truth? And I said, Mom, I would never say that somebody did something like that to me without it actually happening. I understand the gravity of false accusations. That's all I had to say to her. And she went, okay. And she looked at Karen was her name and said, can you take her for me for a little while? I have some business to handle. And I'll be by in a couple hours to get her. And I'm like thinking, my mom's going to go to prison. But I'm also, part of me is going, or does she hate me? So from what my mom tells me, she went inside and she blacked out. And she came to at his voice going, Lisa, Lisa, stop, Lisa. And when she came to, she had the phone like this. And she just went, you're not fucking worth it. Dropped the phone and left. So neither one of us knows exactly her reaction, but it was pure rage. So my mom came to Amanda's house and to pick me up. And at that point was Amanda was actually going to Disneyland. And this is funny. Most people think Disneyland's a great place, and I hate it. I fucking hate it.
Well, you know I'm Florida, right?
Yeah, I know. But Disneyland wasn't a happy place for me. It was just me trying to, there was so much going on, and it was just overstimulated me even more, you know?
Right.
But my mom didn't know what else to do to meet with me, and she felt that I would be best with a friend. So I went to Disneyland with my best friend for that weekend, and I can't say it helped, but, you know, it got me away. And in that amount of time, my mom was able to move my belongings and the most of her belongings out of the house. And we were moved across town to my aunt's house, her best friend. And, you know, my aunt was a very big influence in my life. Very big influence in my life, especially later on in the years in my very active addiction. You know, she always had a way of making me not hate myself. But we moved there, and my mom, I don't think she could look at me at this point. You know, I don't think she knew how to be around me. And I didn't know how to be around her. Like, everything felt so awkward between us. And that hurt. But also, I'm noticing my mom she spent all of her time in my aunt's office trying to piece together her sanity at this.
Right.
You know, at this point, you know. And I understood it for as young as I was. I'm 14, you know, but I was always more mature than most.
So the trauma leads to addiction. And what were the consequences of that in your own personal life?
Oh man. Oh, you want me to get to that?
Yeah, let's go. Come on. I asked the question.
Okay.
You got to answer. Ha, 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 ha.
Well, you said you wanted all of it. It led me into making decisions based out of fear and coming from a lesser point of view. From a lesser point, I abused myself. I beat myself up. It created this inner narcissist that I struggle with to this day. The amount of shame that I carried all through all of that, you know, it definitely shaped every decision I had made. And I was so much at a point because the drugs just kept me so numb to all of these things, like losing my mom. And then, like, I move in with my dad. My mom can't handle me, so I move in with my dad. And then I move in there, and my stepmom is cheating on my dad, and I bust that. So I got to keep that secret. And then they get a divorce. So, like, there's just this darkness that follows me everywhere, you know?
Yeah.
And so then let me finish telling you about what Mike did. So this is why I say this person needs to be the name.
Right.
As punishment to my mother for leaving him, he got high off of methamphetamines. And he decided that there was this club that was right down the street. And he kidnapped a woman by knife point.
Wow.
Mm-hmm. So
And
when
he
I say
blames
that,
that on who's he blaming that part on? Your mom?
yeah, he's saying that he told my mother that this is the kind of damage my poor mom went through and the kind of damage that both of us
It's
had.
your fault. I'm going to kidnap this or do this to this person
He
because it's
had
your
the
fault.
audacity to call my mom from bail, asking for bail. When she found out the charges, because she went and hung up and then they looked up the charges were kidnapping with a deadly weapon. He held her captive in that house for 3 days.
Wow.
Beating on her and assaulting her in every way.
Right.
The only reason why I think that woman lived was because he decided that he needed to go to the store and the duct tape wasn't duct taped enough, apparently. And she was able to scramble her way. She had a broken leg, a broken arm, a broken nose. She was bruised. She was violently assaulted, backwards, upwards, mouth. Her throat was so numb or so she could barely talk. That's the psychopath that we lived with. And when I found out that happened, because my mom and I had a discussion of whether I would press charges or not, and because I was too scared to face what they were the questions, and I was too afraid to face him, that woman, that's why it happened. Because if I had put him away, then he wouldn't have been out to be able to hurt her. That was my mind. So here he is telling my mom that it's all her fault, that she made him go out and show him, or she made him go out and do all this stuff because he needed to show her how lost he was without her and all other kinds of crazy crap, which later to find out,
This is how much I need you. See what you made me do?
and this is your fault. I wouldn't have
Yeah.
had to go to those links if you were here to give me some.
You're right.
Okay. So this is when my addiction really ramps up. This is when my drug usage and my drinking, and it didn't matter what it was, kicked in.
Yeah, just the addiction of more, just whatever numbs.
Yeah, whatever's available to numb me and to keep me, and not only that, but my addiction to chaos, to get my mind out of off of
somebody else's chaos makes our chaos less chaotic.
And then putting myself into being around chaotic people, and that's when that really started kicking off. My mom dumped me off. I don't want to say dumped. That's not the right word. My mom needed space. My mom, I think, felt that she could not protect me.
So
at
she
this point in herself. Time. Yeah, I think that she felt that she could not protect me. I can't speak for her fully, but that's what I thought. And she just couldn't at that point in time because of the amount of abuse that she suffered. We all get an idea of what she was living with, what she was in relationship with. And there's more to him too. Mike was one of the biggest reasons why I got into drugs as much as I dived into it. So
I can see why.
Yeah. So come to find out with the whole Mike thing, there was another person that he came from Boston with. I'm going to leave this person because I have nothing but respect and love for this person. We all find ourselves in situations. We all become friends with people that we don't know the other side of. And this person was a friend of Mike's. And this person is still in my life today, and I love him dearly. Like there's I have nothing bad to say about this person. I think he just made a very wrong decision that led him into, oh my God, I've got to survive this. So
Right.
apparently, what Mike was doing in Boston and in Massachusetts was he had a gang of friends that they would go around and kidnap women, and they would gang her, violate her, and leave them on the side of the road for the buzzards, basically. And this was a serial. This was something they did continuously.
Continuously.
So yeah. So when Mike came to that person and said, "Hey, do you want to move to? I'm looking at getting out of here. Do you want to move to Las Vegas?" That person thought, yes, you want out of this too? Oh my God,
Hmm.
thank God. Let's go. Let's run because we need to run for our lives. You don't step into that and get away, walking away, knowing those things with those kind of
Right.
people and walk away with your life,
Right.
So, and when he told us about this, like when he found out that what happened to me, he hated himself so much. He blamed himself because he didn't tell us because he didn't think Mike was like that. He thought Mike was running from that just like he was, you
Mhm.
know? So, you know, that's when he said, I'm going to tell you about, I'm going to come forth to the family about all this. So, that's the kind of person, Mike was. And, he spent 25 years in prison,
Wow.
and he spent it in Reno,
Hmm.
which is known for, um, sex offenders. It's a prison for sex offenders. He went from Las Vegas City to Indian Springs, Nevada to Reno, Nevada.
Wow.
And I followed him. I called in because he got life with the possibility of parole in 4 years with time served, with 2 years time served.
Hmm.
Yeah, that poor woman. Um, but because he couldn't pass the psychological tests, they wouldn't let him out. And not to mention, every time he came up for parole, I would call and I would tell them, I am in fear of my life if this person gets out. Because
Absolutely.
because this is where things kind of get weird, because I have had multiple people tell me that do not know each other, and different parts of my life, different sections of my life tell me that he's been watching me.
Wow.
Yeah, I had one guy and he was like all whacked out, and I kind of was like, didn't judge him, and he was like, I got a little too high. I was like, just stay there. You can't come in my house. I got a kid, but if you stay there, you don't cause any problems. Here's some water, here's some food, you know,
Hmm.
just chill out. You're safe. And he would, at that point, because I treated him that way, he came to me and he said, I got something I got to tell you. And I could see him. He was like struggling, because
Right.
I know Mike, and I promise you that he was being blackmailed. I guarantee it. And how I know for a fact that he knew Mike was because the same story that Mike would always tell my mother and me was the same story that he told that guy that
Hmm.
he spent some time in the city, Las Vegas City with. And he was being paid to watch me. And the story was that he tried claiming that Giselle, my daughter, was his kid, and that I was not allowing him to see her, and he
Oh,
didn't know why. Which,
wow.
yeah, yeah. And I was like, holy crap. So he's been watching me even more so because he knows that I have a kid. And when that guy told me that, I was like, there's no possible way that guy knows the story that Mike's been telling us all these years. He would hold up a picture of a woman and a young kid, and he would say, this is my daughter, but she won't let me see my daughter or talk to my daughter or anything. I don't even know where she is. Well, we know why. But back then he would use that, and I don't know why.
Hmm.
When the woman that he violated and kidnapped. You want to know what it said in the papers? His reason, he told the judge. I don't know why she's saying that about me. It's not true. Yeah.
Wow.
Like his excuses weren't even good. But so yeah, that
Oh, it wasn't that bad.
and I was told by multiple people. There was other people that told me that he had an older couple following me around. That's what that guy told me. And another person at another point, different, like 10 years down the road, later on in my life, told me the same thing, that he's got a couple riding around in a white van following you, And I asked the person, and I still get phone calls from up in the Massachusetts area and asking for my son, pretending to be somebody else. And then when I call him out and was like, unless this is Mike, and if it is, well, if you have my phone number, you have my address, quit being a pussy and show up.
Right.
I'm not.
Oh yeah, wouldn't Joey love that?
Right? Exactly. Wouldn't I love that? I know the damage that you caused to my mom, But anyways, so now I'm living with my dad, and this starts the loss of another. I mean, not a loss, but damaging on another relationship.
Fracturing of a relationship, yeah.
Fracturing of relationship after relationship, and it's all happening around me. And so when I move in with my dad, now my stepmom and my dad are getting a divorce. And I'm like having to choose who's right and who's wrong on that part, But I'm partying. I'm going out horseback riding almost every night. And when I go out horseback riding, I'm drinking Everclear and Kool-Aid, And I'm going out there and I will ride all night long, because on the back of the horse, nobody could fucking bother me, And right. I would ride out into the desert, but I wasn't always alone. We were always I was always with my stepmom, my cousin, and, stuff like that. But so my stepmom moves out, and I'm drinking. My dad's buying alcohol for me. I'm 15 years old. I'm still in 9th grade, and I'm drinking myself to sleep pretty much every night. There isn't enough numbing out there I couldn't feel anymore. I wanted to do anything and everything to not feel. And I struggled with suicide all throughout my life. All throughout these years, I've contemplated taking my life. From as far back as I can remember, I've contemplated taking my own life.
Right.
And I'm just now starting to understand why. So and that's when I meet my first husband. I met him when I was 14. And then we dated. We broke up, high school stuff, whatever. So I'm living with my dad, and I'm hanging out at this place. And that's when my second violation happened to me. I was hanging out it's called Sam's Town in Las Vegas, in the bowling alley. And this guy comes up to me, Jeremiah, and starts hitting on me. But he has a drink in his hand. I'm 15.
Oh, geez.
And I call him out on it. I'm like, well, he's like, oh, I'm only 18. I was like, you have a drink in your hand. He goes, they bought it for me. He was with another guy and another girl, a couple. Mm-hmm. And they vouched for him. Yep. We bought it for him. Okay. So I give him my number. We start hanging out. And then he meets my dad. And he's looking for a job and this and that. My dad happened to be meeting somebody because my dad owned a landscaping and lawn maintenance company. And so he starts working for my dad. And then that's when Jeremiah starts walking into my bedroom whenever he felt like it in the mornings when I'd be getting dressed. And And he was quite abusive too. Very, very, very demeaning in a lot of ways, And he would make fun of me because I was wearing grandma underwear. And I was like, I'm 15. What kind of underwear should I be wearing, dude?
Right.
And he was like, "Oh, that's okay. You're too fat to be able to look sexy." And he's having these conversations with my dad.
Wow.
Yeah. And my dad's laughing with this. And so then Jeremiah later on tells me, "Oh, I'm not 18. I lied to you. I'm 21." And I was like, "Well, I think we're gonna have to tell my parents about this, because my dad's getting ready to be on his third marriage at this point in time, and my soon-to-be stepmom was very, very against this relationship and told me he's lying to you, he's full of shit, da 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 da. She's seen it from the beginning. So, and I mind you, he is working with my dad and spending 8 hours to 12 hours a day with my father in a truck alone. So they're getting to talk and know each other quite often, quite a bit, And then he tells me I lied. Like a few days later after that, he goes, "I lied. I'm 24."
So he went from 18 to 21 to 24.
Yeah, sure did. In 1 week. Yeah. And I was at that point but I was still, age doesn't matter. I'm 15. I'm going through all this crap. And I just want to be fucking loved. In all honesty, I just want to be fucking loved.
Right.
And so I accept it. But then he's like getting more and more abusive with me and really crossing boundaries that I'm uncomfortable with. And he's talking a lot of crap about me and to me. And I'm like, okay. So I break it off with him. And that's when I started dating my first husband again. And so my dad marries my second stepmom. And I have to go stay with my cousin for a week, which my cousin, my most favorite person in the whole wide world. I spent a lot of time with her. I was always her baby when we were little, because her mom actually almost adopted me. So I spent a lot of time there. There was a really close relationship. I loved her to pieces. Not toxic person, like the least toxic person in my life, And I could just be me around her. And I was accepted. It was just so great. So I was happy to go spend the week over there.
Right.
Well, for whatever reason, it was her husband wasn't able to pick me up from school that day. He had some meeting or training or something that he had to do. So I was going to ride the bus home. And then when my first husband, my boyfriend at the time, got off work, he was going to pick me up and then drive me over to their house. And but when I got home, my dad wasn't around, but Jeremiah was. And I had done what I was supposed to do. And he was like, "Well, I'm kind of going that way anyways. I can just drop off." Right. I'm like, okay. So he goes to drop me off, or we're driving. I make it. I tell everybody he's just going to drop me off, blah, blah, blah. Well, there's this. So between Las Vegas and Henderson, there's this desert, this great big desert we call the wetlands.
Mm-hmm.
And if you go in the desert enough, or, a lot of people that do four-wheeling and stuff like that, know that there's a way. And it came out right there by the old watch factory in Henderson, Nevada. So he's going that way. And he was like, and when he started heading that way, I was like, "What are you doing? You're supposed to be taking me to my cousin's house." He's like, "Oh, I just have to go by home real fast, and then I'm going to take you." And I was like, "That's kind of going out of the way, but okay, whatever."
Yeah.
Well, we get in the desert, and he makes sure that we're good in the desert. And he stopped his truck, and he looked over at me, and he goes, "You do understand that you're not getting away with this for free." And I looked at him and I was like, well, get me to my cousin's and I'll give you some gas money. You know, my cousin, I don't have any money on me. My cousin will give you some gas money or whatever. And he looked at me, he goes, I don't want your money. I've got money. He goes, you're paying in other ways. And I'm dead in the middle of nowhere. Like anybody that knows these areas knows that you can easily get lost. And we're talking, not everybody, even though it's well known, it's so desolate, you don't come across vehicles because there's so many different paths you can take, you know? And I'm literally like, fuck. I knew it because I already been through this. But that time was the actual act. And he took me to his house, did his thing. And then I remember being dropped off and my cousin being so angry at me because I was missing for hours. Like I think about 4 or 5 hours I was missing. And I remember I couldn't tell because I looked at my boyfriend and I couldn't because I had gotten myself into that situation. I should have known better.
Right.
I knew he was a jerk, you know, and here it was again. I didn't fight him off. And that weighed heavy. Here it was again. I hurt somebody else because I couldn't fight him off. So I dealt with that. Well, then that's when more drug usage really started kicking in and all of the horrible decision making and this and that. Years kind of go by. I moved to Michigan, come back, moved to Pahrump. I'm moving here or there. Now I'm 18. I have a daughter, you know. I go ahead and I get married to my first husband. And I'm in active addiction. We have a lot of problems because of my active addiction.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I tried hiding it. I couldn't. He found out. You know, God has a way of getting your secrets out there. And I'm not kidding. Literally, one time I was heading to go to I was supposed to be out with my cousin. And we both decided that we were going to just go visit the dealer to see what's up. You know, we were chasing, but we were going to, I'm sure we probably would have, but that person wasn't home. But the cell phone, and this was back in like 98 when cell phones were like, you know, somehow dialed the house phone and he answered and he heard that entire conversation. So when he asked me what I did, I completely lied and I was found out, you know. So addiction really took a lot of place into that relationship. And I was not in a good headspace. I was so toxic. I was beyond toxic. And then I have my son at this point, and then we moved to California, and I get clean. My relationship is going good, but I'm still, when you are coming out of chaos, comfort and peace feels so wrong, you know? And I couldn't get past the traumas. I didn't have enough education. I didn't have anybody to help me. Everybody was more into either the drug scene or they didn't know anything at all, you know? So I ended up getting a divorce and I had left my son in California when I came back. And I was going to go back for him 2 weeks later and to pick him up, to have him come live with me in Vegas. Well, in that amount of time, my first husband filed for divorce and filed for full custody of my son. And that hurt. That hurt. My mom had told me and begged me to not leave my son. And I didn't listen to her. Here I go again, not listening and causing more trauma, you know? And I felt like the biggest piece of shit on the face of this planet because I already hated myself. The only thing I had going for me was motherhood. And I had this big grand dream of me being this way in motherhood. And I so wasn't that person. And I beat myself up constantly. And I'm really trying to stay clean at this point in time. I'm really trying to stay clean. But I didn't want to go through the horrible custody battles. I didn't want to put my kids through any of that. And we did a visitation, and the way my ex-husband had it set up was because in the state of Nevada, they recognize both parents. When there's no custody in place, you're equal. So whoever has the child,
Right. Whoever has physical custody.
whoever has physical custody. So
Right.
he made it to where I couldn't see my son without him around, because he knew he was just covering his, and he had told me when we split up, he had told me, he goes, you're going to go back to it. I know you are. And that hurt, that hurt. Cause I was like, at that point in time, I'm like, no, I'm not. And I had no idea that I was an actual addict at this point in time. I just knew that I needed it. I just kind of felt that I needed it. I didn't quite understand what an addict really was. And it was always like, that's not me. That's not me. I'm not an addict, but I so was. I absolutely was, because I was living in my trauma. And so I decide, all right, I don't want to do this horrible custody battle. And I don't exactly have the confidence in being able to raise 2 kids on my own. I'm back in Vegas this time. I've had to uproot my life again. And I'm starting all over. And if anybody's ever lived in Las Vegas, you understand how hard it is to get a job out there, especially if you don't want to do casinos.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
And I refused to do casinos. And I didn't even have a high school diploma. I had dropped out because I was going to go into the military because I was in ROTC. But then I got pregnant with Giselle. And I was like, well, I'm not leaving my kid for other people to raise. So there goes that,
Hold on. I got to say something real quick. Giselle's down in the chats. She's in the room. So, geez, it's all your fault, Giselle. I'm just going to say that. It's all your fault, Giselle. Yeah, I just had that. She said she's so proud of you, Mom.
Aw, thank you.
Yeah.
But so then giving up my son struck something in me that I didn't even recognize, that I couldn't even understand, the guilt. And we had worked it out to where it was joint custody. He had physical, stuff like that. But I wasn't going to be able to raise 2 kids on my own. And I think the best decision was letting my son be raised by my ex-husband, because what happened next was another Mike type of situation.
Right.
Not in the pedo
Right.
manner.
Right.
He was everything but that. You know what I mean?
Just very abusive.
Beyond.
Yeah.
He had a lot of trauma himself, so I leave, get a divorce, and I meet Josh, which is the father of my youngest daughter. And I am thankful for that relationship because of her. I am thankful for whatever it allows me to do from my knowledge and my experiences of living through it to help others. And that is the only way I'm thankful for it. I know that there's more to it in there, but yeah, I hated myself so much with multiple sexual assaults and the shaming that had gone on through the younger years. All of this stuff, all was just I was this volcano inside, but this volcano it was still building up. It's still building up, and I'm getting to the better part, people. So, and
I'm getting to the better part.
I'm giving everybody this to help understand what happened in the height of my addiction.
Yeah,
like the very, very height. So then Josh comes in, and I'm 22 years old. I am still trying to please everybody. I'm still trying to be loved.
And how old's Giselle at this time?
Giselle's 4.
Oh, okay.
Giselle's 4 years old.
4-year-old Jess.
And I'm realizing the devastation that my dumbass had caused by cheating on my ex-husband and not being able to face him. Like, when I had made the decision to cheat, I didn't realize how much I was hurting myself until I had done that. And I tell you, when I say that I had learned a lesson, I had learned a lesson. But at this point in time, I hadn't learned that lesson yet,
Well, see, you were just trying to find another coping situation because,
I
hey,
was just, I was seeing the things that my first husband wasn't giving me. I wasn't seeing the things he was. I was only focusing on my lack because I was in such a space of
right.
lack mindset. And, and I think that's where the recovery world has helped me in recovery and all of that. It really truly is an amazing transformation what people go through. It really, really is. And I have to say, I cannot be more proud of myself. And to be able to sit here and say that and be like, and mean it, like actually mean it, is the best feeling in the world. And I wouldn't give it up for anything. You know what I mean? But if I had known that at this point in time, I was still so scared. And I really didn't. I really was just so caught up in living the chaos and never trying to understand that I was in chaos. And my mom and my relationship was very turmoil. I mean, we were pretty close at this, but then Josh, it was another thing that we were trying to fight the mic thing, but it really stepped into our relationship. And it showed in many ways. So I meet Josh, and of course, I see the red flags now, but back then, I think I did a part of me seen it, but I just didn't want to listen to it. When you look back and you're like, duh, there's so many moments. Like when in the amount of things that I subjected myself to in the first year, the first fight, the first time that he put hands on me, the first blowout, and I think looking back on it, I think his was part PTSD in its best too, because he was a ex-gang member. The streets of Las Vegas when we were growing up, the schools are getting shot up. Your best friends are getting shot right next to you. He had experienced these kinds of survivors regret and all of this. He had gone through a lot. He's had to leave friends and flee for his own life because he's being shot at. And I didn't, so looking back at it, like right now, I can see where the PTSD was probably taking place. But back then, I didn't understand any of that. It's only, like you said, we're talking about it and things start clearing up. I think now, talking about it, I think it might have been PTSD blackouts. But it kind of makes sense. But so the first time we had gone out, my mom was a bartender. And we had gone out and we had some drinks and we had gone home and we had gotten into a fight. And I was going to leave because that was my thing. I'm going to leave because I'm in control. That was my control method. That was the thing I did have control. And that was, I shouldn't have told him I was going to leave because the door got locked. I don't remember everything from that night. But I do remember, thank God Giselle wasn't there. She was in California with her dad. But he had beat me. He had taken a knife out to me and had me by knife point. Knife at my throat, beating me, punching me. Knife in one hand, right at my throat, right here. And just pounding as hard as he could. And he would bend down in my ear and he would scream my name so loud it would ring. He had me up against the wall in the corner at one point by the throat on my throat. And I had night marks on my throat, cut points, from when he was bending down and would cut in a little bit. I had pissed myself because I was so scared and I screamed so much. He was screaming, had me up against the wall and had his hand on my throat. And he was biting my face. Like it was so horrible. So my downstairs neighbor, this was in our first apartment. We had just moved in together, my downstairs neighbor called the cops, and the cops beat on the door. And of course I opened it, and all I had on was like a night shirt, and it's bloody and ripped, and I'm just soaked, peed all over myself, urinated all over myself. And my voice was just raw from screaming so much. And the cops had the guns already, pointed out, and they're like, where is he? Where is he? And they were able to get him. And I was just like, please don't shoot, blah, blah, blah. That was the first time he ever laid hands on me. And I should have left then. I should have. But I had convinced myself that he loved me. And I convinced myself that he was sorry. And he had me convinced that he was for a whole about month. And it went on like this. This was of the norm. Like, it went on like this for so long. He was making up lies about Giselle constantly.
Okay. What kind of lies was he making up with Giselle? Because I know Giselle, she's kind of a little cuckoo, but still.
Well, he would tell me, and Giselle's 4 or 5 years old, and she's going through her own traumas. I ripped her away from her fucking best friend, which was her dad. They were the best of friends, and I ripped her away. Right. And now she's losing her mom because her mom's trying to we're always late on the fucking rent. He's always drunk. I'm trying to, I got to keep my house a certain clean. So I'm like OCD with cleaning the house because of this. I've had a miscarriage because of him. I had 2 miscarriages because of him, getting just constant, like, you never knew when that other shoe would drop. Like, don't get me wrong. I stayed because there was a lot of good in him too. But when that other shoe would drop, and you never knew, it would be just the right trigger. It could be that number beer. It was just that number of a beer. Or if he drank hard alcohol, God, and this went on for many, 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 many years. And I tried getting away from him so many times. And I'm the one actually introducing him into drugs at this point. I mean, not things that he hadn't done before, but I'm bringing it into it more and more and more, because the more abuse that I go through and the more embarrassment I have and the more I try to hide this person that I don't even know, Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde, and I'm losing my family, and I can't work because he refuses to watch my kid, and my mom's across town, so it's and she's trying to work, so she can't babysit, and there's just all of this bullshit going on, and I'm just using and using and using and using, and I mean, from the moment I wake till the moment I sleep, if I can have a pipe in my hand, I have a pipe in my hand.
All right, Sela, I'm going to cut you off. We're going to do a part 2 because we've been going at this for about 2 hours now. We can go all day. I don't mind.
You said you wanted it. So
No, I do not mind. But I think this deserves a break and a part 2 in a few days. And we'll do a part 2 just to break it up, because it's a lot of shit to deal with in one sitting. And I know it's hard on you, and I know it's hard on everybody else, but I know how hard it is to tell somebody's story, and just the emotional impact that has on not only you, but everybody else too, because you know what? There's similar people out there that have been through similar circumstances that is going to bring up memories in them too.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think for the
I
benefit
don't
of
mean to cause any trigger or anything.
no, it's okay, but for the benefit of you, and I know how hard it is to sit in front of a screen all day, especially still having seizures and stuff, so for that benefit, I think we're going to pause this live and come back to it in a couple days for a part 2.
Okay.
Is that okay with you?
Yeah, no, that's fine.
So remember where we're at. We're at the height of the drug use, meth pipe in hand, and that's that.
Remember the picture of me when you come back in.
Picture this. Picture this. All right. Everybody stop. Picture this. So, I just want to make sure you're in a good headspace before continuing, because I know that past.
I'm actually really good, to tell the truth.
I know, but
like this part I've dealt with.
You
more.
might say that now.
Yeah, I know.
I know you better than that, Sela, so don't fool me.
You're right.
All right. And on that, that's Rock and Recovery for this episode. Tune in a few days, maybe a week, to hear the rest of Sela's story. And then we're going to get her daughter, the lovely Giselle, who's about to have a kid in 5 or 6 weeks. So we'll get her up here before she has her kid, Uncle Jay. And that's Rock and Recovery. Sela, I love you. And we're going to do a part 2 soon. So stay tuned.